Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Hoof Podcast. Glad to be with you on this Friday. Getting ready for our first Monday night game of the season.
Well, is it night? It's Monday dinner time game.
Right. So it's Monday evening football.
There you go.
Sterling's not with us tonight. He will be back next week. So it's me and Anthony bringing you the best content that we can. Looking forward to this week. You know, I've been looking forward to the Kansas City game since the schedule came out.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew this was going to be the big one, especially once they won the Super Bowl. You get the Super Bowl champs coming to your home. I mean, it's the biggest game of the year, really, in terms of competitive juices for this one. You can't get any bigger than that, right? So
for sure, and it's 4-1 versus 4-1. I wanted the undefeated teams clashing on Thursday night, but I'll take the 4-1. A little bit weird that it's Monday night, though. I was really looking forward to that Thursday night game. We were actually supposed to be covering that right now. That's what we'd be doing.
Yeah, that's crazy. We had originally planned to watch the game and then record afterwards, and we would already know what happened in this game. But I'm okay with waiting until Monday, especially after the reschedule. You know, we're getting the games in. That's what counts. It obviously didn't end the way we wanted on Tuesday night, but
right, yeah,
we're going to get into that.
The Bills' first loss of the season, and it wasn't just a little bitty loss. They got their butts kicked. And it, just like humbles you. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot our football team is really good. I kind of forgot what it was like to lose, and this used to be a pretty common thing, losing all the time.
Yeah, we definitely got hyped in the moment, and I think, I jinxed it for sure, because I said in the preseason that the Tennessee Titans were the team that I was worried about first. They were the first loss that I had on the schedule. But coming into this week with the COVID situation and them having so many guys out, I thought for sure we'd have the edge in this one. But, we came out and looked like we just weren't ready to play on Tuesday night. Like, I don't know if they just didn't want it or they didn't like the rescheduling.
I think I think McDermott was probably like, look, we can't play this team with all their players out and have an honorable win. So he's like, I'm going to sit a lot of starters. Trey White, Matt Milano. The names are endless.
John Brown,
Quentin Spain. Yeah. I mean, we're just going to let's even the playing field. So if we win, we get honor. I'm all for that. I like honor.
Yeah, well, it looked like our honor was also left on the field by the end of the game, the way they scored points on us down the field there, and the stiff-armed Norman and all the rest of the highlights.
There was a flag on that play, let's not forget.
It didn't actually count.
And he only got about 2 yards, but damn.
Still,
but
it's
damn.
Picturesque. You're going to see those memes for a while now. It definitely brought up a lot of concerns on the defensive side of the ball, for sure, for the Bills. I mean, we know... We've been saying it over and over again, at least I have, that we know what the defense looks like without Matt Milano. Bad, period. When Matt Milano's not out there, the defense is bad. That's historically under Sean McDermott, that's the case. And now now we've seen what it looks like without Trey White and Matt Milano. And obviously Levi Wallace is out too, so we were pasting things together at cornerback out there, and man, it was an ugly game on defense for sure. I mean, they made a few good plays here and there, but it just wasn't enough. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, and I feel like if any team lost key pieces like that, they're top talented guys, they're going to struggle. And that's why depth is so important in the NFL. And I think you're seeing, the Bills, I'm not sure about their depth this year. I think they had more depth last season. But, I mean, every player from last season is another year smarter. But they got some catching up to do for sure. Some of those guys,
they've definitely got I mean, they got to play better than this. We expect way more from a Sean McDermott team, and to see the defense look like it has, I mean, it's sad. Really, we need to do better. You can't win games fully on your offense. I mean, you can if you're scoring 40-something points a game. If you want to look like Dallas or like Kansas City sometimes, I mean, but we're not built to be that kind of team. And when your defensive line is the highest paid defensive line in football, you must come in with higher expectations. I mean, they've been doing a good job of getting pressure, but not getting to the quarterback. We have to see that translate into sacks, into big plays, into breakups, into something, because thus far, it's nothing but the most underperforming defensive line in the NFL at this point.
For sure. And I know there's a lot of bye weeks and stuff, but right now the Bills are ranked second best defense in passing, 27th best defense in rushing. So, I mean, that you got a linebacker in Edmonds who's playing injured. It's showing. And, there's a lot of new pieces there. It is early in the season. I don't want to overreact here. I settled down a lot, so now we can actually talk about this in a reasonable manner. But we did have some things that kind of got us worked up in that game, and we're going to kick it off with 3rd and 50.
Third down and 50.
And I'm going to go first on this one. Okay, so Ryan Tannehill's smirk is what irritated me this week during the game. I get it, Ryan. Comeback player of the year. He's a good quarterback now. Don't forget. And, coming off the championship game, led his team, $62 million guaranteed. But I can't do the smirk. Like, he can't pull that off. He doesn't have very much swag, right? And then, when he ran in to the end zone on the little layup move, he almost broke his femur, right? So, Ryan Tannehill, just stop with the smirk stuff. Just play quarterback. You're a good quarterback, probably because of Derrick Henry in the backfield. That play-action game is really good for Tennessee. But that's my 3rd down and 50, is just Ryan Tannehill can't pull off the swag. He looked like a 5-year-old kid with the smirk the whole game.
That's a pretty good one. He does have a very punchable face, doesn't he?
He does. Maybe it's because he played for Miami. Here's the thing. He was on Hard Knocks his first year in Miami.
Right.
And he didn't know what the divisions were. This guy just got drafted top 10. He didn't know what the divisions were. That drove me nuts. And I don't think I've ever forgave him for that. Just to see him beating the Bills so bad and just that smirk, I just can't do it. It's like an ex-girlfriend who's with a better person who drives by in a Bentley and just smirks at you, and you're like, dang, it hurts. It just kind of hurts.
It's annoying. Yeah, you're like, God, get out of here, right?
Yeah. And you're in your Honda Civic. You're like, no. Sometimes they win when they leave, All
right, well, I've got one for you. My 3rd and 50, and stop me if you've heard this one before, the referees.
Stop.
Why can't the NFL get this right? I mean, come on. Are you kidding me with some of these calls? Again, luckily, I don't think any of these calls impacted the game. I'm not saying the refs cost the Bills the game. They did not. The Bills cost the Bills the game in this one. But, oh, my God. Terrible calls. The first quarter penalty, the illegal shift that it was a touchdown pass by Josh Allen, called back on an illegal shift where nobody shifted. And I don't understand what the play call was there, how that resulted in a penalty, but it was. And we said, all right. And luckily, we did score a touchdown on that drive anyway, so it didn't end up impacting the game there. But the one that really just grinded my gears and really, really bugged me, fourth quarter, meaningless touchdown, but Ryan Tannehill is at least 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage and throws a touchdown pass into the end zone. And the refs just say, oh, yeah, it's a touchdown, completed pass. Of course, I'm like, all right, at least this is automatically reviewed, so they'll review it and they'll see that he was well beyond the line and call it back. They review the play and still don't get the call right. It's like, what in the hell is the point of having replay if you can't get the call right? You clearly see what the rest of us are seeing. He was clearly over the line. Every inch of his body and soul was over the line of scrimmage when he threw the pass. And yet they said, fine, it's still a touchdown that is called on the field. That is just unacceptable. The referees need to realize that they can be wrong, and when they see it on replay, they can make it right. That's perfectly fine. You're still human. We will accept you getting a wrong call and then changing it to the right call. But when the entire nation sees it as one way and the refs call it the other way and they still aren't able to change it on review, they just make themselves look even worse. It makes the whole NFL look stupid. And I'm sick of it. It's not just in Bills games. It's all around the league like this. And it's just absolutely unacceptable. Get the play call right. I don't care what it takes. I don't care whose ego is involved. You called it on the field one way. It wasn't that way. Let's get it right. That should be what matters. That should be the bottom line.
Yeah, and I feel like with COVID, we have a lot to complain about now, so the refs are kind of skating by this year. But there's a lot of reasons to complain about them. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, when you stop the play, all the viewers are waiting. The players are waiting. There's momentum on the line. But, get it right. Like you said, if you're going to waste our time, at least get the call right. So I'm with you on that instance. Some of them are extremely hard to call. So I'll give the refs the benefit of the doubt there. It's not a very easy job anymore. They've made the rules so complicated
Certainly.
that everything is gray, and it's extremely difficult, and it shows. The refs, they struggle a lot. But from the viewership standpoint, I think it is better this year. Maybe because less holding calls. I mean, they ripped the fans out of the stadium for COVID reasons. So maybe they're saying, okay, easy on the holding calls, but they're way down this year compared to last year. It was almost unwatchable last year.
They're changing things.
Yeah, you're talking 25, 30 penalties a game last season.
Wow. That's a lot of flags.
It really is.
Now, we're going to get into it, but the Bills had their share of flags in this one, that's for sure. And most of that goes on them, though, not on the refs.
And this game had a lot, and it's like 16 penalties total. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that. It is irritating watching the refs at times. But that's just the way it is right now, and I don't think it's going anywhere. But it is nice to see that they're trending in the right direction with less penalties overall, because it was out of control last year for sure. Anyway, let's get into the Titans game a little bit more. This is since it was a Tuesday game, we haven't had time to react to the game, and I know it's getting stale now, but we at least want to give our thoughts. But first thing I noticed, Anthony, a lot of players not active in this game, like we talked about a little bit. John Brown, Zach Moss out again, Trey White, Matt Milano, Quentin Spain, and Lee Smith are the inactives, and that showed because now you're out John Brown, who plays a large role on the offense. Whether he's a distraction or actually the hot route. So then you're throwing the ball to Andre Roberts, who you should never do. I think I'm done with that.
Yeah,
let's not throw him the ball anymore.
I mean, we saw what happened on that play, literally right in his hands, and I don't know if he's just not used to the speed of how Josh Allen throws, because we've seen that a lot with new receivers with Josh Allen, but it just bounced right off of his hands, and of course it goes right to the defender.
Right, Malcolm Butler gets the pick. Yep.
So that was, in his first two interceptions, Josh Allen should be credited with 0 right there, but it is what it is. It bounces off Roberts' hands. John Brown not being out there, immediate impact on the game. I think it was the second or third offensive play that we had. Tennessee
gets the ball at the 16, and, took two plays, touchdown to A.J. Brown. So, it just shows when you make little mistakes like that, it has a huge impact, and the Bills, I don't think, recovered from that, to be honest with you. But moving forward, the Bills' luck just didn't seem to go our way this time, and we were probably due because the Bills have had some pretty good luck in the first few games, but
lots of dropped passes, especially in that first half. I was just like throwing it to Diggs, he never drops it, and all of a sudden he drops it, and Dawson Knox missing a couple, and it's like, oh my God, what happened? It's like all of a sudden they forgot how to catch the ball, and I don't know, maybe it's the personnel, maybe it's the fact that they weren't out there, they were playing from behind at points, It's a different style of football, but they got to be able to play up to that.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone looked like lackadaisical, and it's definitely, especially Diggs, seeing him drop balls. We just haven't seen that yet. That was the first for me.
Right.
But Josh Allen, I thought kept the team going though. I mean, he made some amazing plays. The one to Andre Roberts on the sideline on third down. That third down run he had where he juked out the linebacker. I mean, Josh Allen was balling. I mean,
certainly, he kept us in this game.
He
tried his best.
I know it was later in the game, but that throw to T.J. Yeldon was amazing.
The touchdown pass,
That's the Josh Allen we were hoping for. That was Wyoming ball all day long. And now it seems like that's kind of carrying over now because he understands, okay, I got to put a lot more into it. I got to be more precise with the ball, whereas in Wyoming, he'd just throw it up and hope for the best. So it's good to see that kind of coming back in a positive way. But, this game just never seemed to go the Bills' way.
Yeah, and even the third quarter, you come out in the third quarter, I think we were down by 2 scores at that point, and we're driving down the field. It looks like we're going to get back into it, and that's when Josh Allen made his biggest mistake of the season so far, and in a pass that was intercepted and was credited to Josh Allen in this case. It was horrible timing. It took all of the air. It looked like we were driving, we were starting to get momentum back, and then just one bad pass, intercepted, and that was it, And the worst part of that interception, though, was the return. It looked like they couldn't bring the guy down. At one point, I guess they assumed he was down. He ended up going all the way into the 20-yard line of the Bills. So, another short field for Tennessee to capitalize on. And, of course, they scored easily and went up by 3 scores. So It was quite the momentum changer, quite the
68-yard return.
Oh, yeah. Ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, you can't have that. Back to that lackadaisical. That's exactly what we saw with this team. And, yeah, Malcolm Butler had a day, but it's not like he made any plays. They came right to him.
Right, both of them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, we mentioned Ryan Tannehill. I don't want to get too much into that, but flipping sides of the ball, we just could not stop their offense. And the Tennessee Titans offense is really, really good. I don't think they get enough credit. 2 of their top receivers were out. Jonnu Smith's got a bright future. If not, he's arrived as a weapon.
Right. Tight end. And then, obviously, A.J. Brown. This was his first game back in a couple of weeks. And
nobody could stop him. Nobody could guard him. Taron Johnson was having a hard time with him. And a lot of players have a hard time with A.J. Brown. I think he's going to be really good moving forward. But usually McDermott can dial something up. It just didn't seem to work the entire game. And, the fail... we don't have any pass rush. Zero pass rush.
I mentioned that at the top. Yeah, it's just from our defensive line, for what they're paid and what they're capable of, they have got to do better, period. You can't get paid what you are and be the star that you are and then not produce. Those guys, putting those guys on the field should be a threat to any quarterback at any time and in any combination of the guys we have, and they're just not putting up enough. They're just not getting to the quarterback. And there was a couple of boneheaded plays. Tannehill ran all over us in this game. He ran for a touchdown. He ran for a couple of first downs. And it was just missed opportunities to misdirection, right? They went inside, and Tannehill rolled out, and there was nobody there, and he just walked for a first down. It was just ugly all around on the defense.
Tannehill shouldn't be doing layups. He almost broke his femur. You just don't do that.
That was ugly. Yeah, again. It shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been allowed to be in that position. Somebody should have been able to tackle him to get to him before he got to the end zone. But it looked like he was going to fumble that ball, by the way, as he was jumping into the end zone, throwing it in the air. But luckily, he must have crossed the plane before he actually released it. But you can't be doing that either.
Yeah, the Bills have no sacks in this game, but we did see A.J. Epinesa make a play. Good to see him doing something. This defensive line does have me concerned, though. I think top priority going into the offseason has got to be pass rush. You got an aging Jerry Hughes, who's now on the opposite side of the ball, and he failed to set the edge a lot.
And he's getting paid, $10 million next year.
Right.
It's definitely going to be a conversation.
Watching a little bit of Jerry Hughes, I thought he could beat that tackle and make a play and sack the quarterback, but Tannehill would just roll out on him and either run the ball, which we saw a lot, or make a play, So, definitely failed to set the edge there, failed to contain quite often in this game.
It doesn't show up in the fantasy box score, but our defense did do a good job of containing Derrick Henry. He wasn't able to get really big bursts and big plays many times in this game.
And that was the focus.
Much held him in check. Yeah, and it was clearly going in the game plan to stop Derrick Henry, but he did get a couple of touchdowns because they were short distance touchdowns. But still, again, Positive, yes, they stopped him, but negative, he still got the job done when they needed it most. The big thing that hurt, you mentioned Epinesa making a play, but he also had a huge penalty on a 3rd and 7 play that made it, offsides, that made it 3rd and 2.
That was basically
and they were able to fall forward for the first down.
That was the defense's last stand,
Exactly, And
it was a long shot to begin with, but they failed to contain the quarterback the entire game. And it looks like the defense really game planned to stop Derrick Henry. They succeeded, but they didn't do enough, against this play-action game. John Smith and A.J. Brown just tore him up.
This was the first game in a long time where I felt that this Sean McDermott-led team was penalized in big situations, right? They screwed up when the lights were the most, when the plays were the biggest. And that's just, you can't do that. You're never going to win doing that. Never, ever. So they know they have to clean that up. I'm sure Sean McDermott is doing something at practice this week, getting those guys ready and telling them that what they did was, they have to do better for sure. The other thing that I wanted to bring up that kind of irked me a little bit, and I know Eric from Cover One, he kind of talked me off the ledge the next day after I was saying this, but the Bills got the ball back late in the third quarter, and we're driving down. They're down 3 scores at this point. You've got to be playing fast and furious at that point. You need 3 touchdowns to get back in this game. And they ended up scoring a touchdown, but it took like 8 minutes off the clock or 7 minutes off the clock. It felt like the pace was very slow watching it live. It felt like they weren't hustling, and that was frustrating to see. It's like, come on, hurry up, get to the next play, hike the ball. It's a matter of life and death at this point. You need 3 touchdowns. Let's go. But when you take 8 minutes to score a touchdown, that only helps the other team. Tennessee was smiling after we scored that touchdown.
For sure, yeah. I can see what you're saying there, but, the way things were going with the offense, I think they were just trying not to make mistakes. One more turnover, the game's over. But, yeah, they had kind of played themselves out of it by taking so much time, but ultimately the defense failed to stop the Titans.
Yes.
Right, and they ran the clock out, so there was a chance still. It's a tough one because you don't want to make mistakes. I think the offense is better when they're methodical. Right, they were hitting plays on that drive, and they got it done. It came off a Josh Allen Wyoming ball, but they got it done.
Yeah, credit goes to that team. They came out a lot more prepared than the Bills did for that game.
Yeah.
And maybe that had, there was talk that if that game was canceled, then we would have played Tennessee on Thursday. So maybe that's something to do with it, the fact that you're game planning for 2 different situations, 2 different teams.
For sure.
That certainly was a disadvantage for the Bills. The Titans did have a bye week, statistically, always coming off a bye helps teams. So, there's a lot that went into this loss. But ultimately, the Tennessee Titans were the better team. And we need to learn from this game because we could see them again in the playoffs. It's very likely we see them again in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you got to be prepared after this loss.
Yeah, I think you need to get hit in the mouth once. It humbles you. The team will be humble. They're going to prep hard for this next game. It's a tough stretch coming up. I know the Jets are in there, but we also got New England coming up soon. And so, this team will, wakes them up. Okay, this is how this is going to be now. Tennessee's a very good team. Minus the bye week that they had, minus all the COVID stuff that messed up the Bills' preparation. Tennessee was going to be a tough matchup to begin with. And actually, I think in the preseason, you predicted it would be the Bills' first loss.
I did, yes, and unfortunately it was. But
you continue.
One of only four on the season, and all 3 of us have said that this next game coming up, Kansas City, was the game that the Bills had to and would win. So there's still hope for us yet. So let's continue and move this into the right direction.
So touching on Kansas City, we'll move on here. Le'Veon Bell has been in the rumor mill, for the past 24 hours, and
yeah, he was dropped by the Jets during the game.
Yep, cut by the Jets. Now his second team he's been cut by. And there was reports out that the last 3 teams he was going to sign with before he signed with Kansas City was Kansas City, Miami, and Buffalo. Is that surprising to you?
Not really, no. I wasn't fully on board with this. When people were like, oh, the Bills should sign him. I'm like, what, are you crazy at first? But I think it could have worked. I could see a place where maybe he wanted to get revenge on the Jets, and maybe he wanted to be able to, be on a competitive team. Obviously, the Bills are that, and maybe Sean McDermott and crew could get the most out of him. And certainly, he brings value as a running back who was one of the top in the NFL at one point for a long time, and is certainly one of the better receiving running backs in the NFL still. And the Jets just never seem to use him in the right way, so we don't even know if he still has that talent and ability. Yeah. And obviously, whatever team got him signed him for pennies because it's, he's got his guaranteed money this year, and he's really only working for a new contract at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with Kansas City. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have hated it if the Bills signed him, but at the same time, his personality issues, I didn't think he would be a good fit in the locker room, especially after a tough loss. How does he react? We've seen what he's done in the past, that he's been the problem on teams in the past, and maybe we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, and I think the reason he has a lot of interest right now, and probably the reason Bean is in on this, is because, Jets cut him. The Jets paid all his guaranteed money. So you're going to get him at a discount. And with his talent and maybe his new motivation now that he got released, he had some beef with the Jets, you could get a lot out of him for a year. Now, I can see that, right? But in my opinion, I would not sign him to a long-term deal in Buffalo if he did sign with Buffalo. Because I don't think he's that guy. I mean, I just follow patterns. I feel like with him, the football is extremely difficult to evaluate because there's Adam Gase, right? But he was so good in Pittsburgh, and that didn't work out. But I think just when you follow the patterns, it's like, okay, basically quit on his team in Pittsburgh, which was a Super Bowl contending team. Let's not, there had a lot of personality issues there amongst the team, but that was a very good football team. They tried to franchise tag him because contract negotiation stuff, but he would have made 14.5. He didn't show up that year, ends up retiring, sitting out a year. And that, to me, that's in the NFL, that's walking away from your team. That's how I see it. I know that I don't know him personally, and I'm not going to judge him personally. But, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL, and there's a lot of good players on those teams, and, I just don't think it's fair that you could just walk away like that. That's just my personal opinion. Goes to the Jets, and then he signs a huge deal. I think he was the second highest paid running back in the league at the time. And, the Jets, it's hard to evaluate with Adam Gase there, but now it's your second team that you've been a problem on. And they were, I guess you could say, forced to release him. Look, teams just don't release guys like that and get a bunch of dead money. And so they thought it was better for the team to release him. And now there's a pattern, in my opinion. So from that aspect, I would not want Le'Veon Bell on the Bills for long term. But I think 1 year, make a run, see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, he could be another bold threat on that already dominant Kansas City offense that we're going to get into in a little bit here.
And I know Sterling likes it. He wanted it. He's always good from the player's perspective, which I can respect. But it is a balance. I usually take the team perspective, but I'm a fan, we like to watch, the team. I don't want my team to be hurt down the road, you know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting aspect there with Le'Veon Bell, but the guy is super talented, no doubt about it. He has the potential to be one of the NFL greats. I mean, that's obviously taking a hit, but the potential is there, and that's intriguing. So I don't know if it's so much Singletary not getting it done, or are they trying to do the tandem thing? Look, Zach Moss has been inactive for
I think that's more of what
a number of games. So
he would have fit in well as having him and Singletary. That's a threat, But it is what it is. Hopefully Moss comes back and he's healthy, and they're able to get something going in the run game.
So yeah, now I'm interested to see how Kansas City uses him. Because Edward Solaire is having a good year thus far.
I think they use him more as a pass catcher, and again, I think that's what he's best at as a running back, coming out of the running back position. He could catch balls, man, and on that Kansas City offense that likes to pass first, Clyde Edwards-Helaire can catch too, but he's not Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, that tandem will be a a nightmare for defenses.
Yeah, you could have two running backs out there and still run passes all day long. So it'll be interesting to see. And we know that Andy Reid's going to be pretty creative with the talent he's got, for sure.
Yeah, so interesting aspect there. It was fun to play with today, but he's gone now, so we can move on. And the Bills face him this weekend, so that should be interesting as well. Interesting thing I saw today, though, the three teams that Bell was considering all play the Jets in the next 3 weeks.
So he definitely wants revenge.
Yeah, he wants revenge. The Gase revenge. We're starting to see a trend there, too, with Adam Gase. Players just don't like him,
Thank God they kept Gase and got rid of Bell, though.
All right, so we're going to go on to 5 for 5 here. Anthony, you were 3-2 last week, correct?
Yes, that's right. The unfortunate Bills loss was my second loss of the week. So 3-2, still on the winning side. We'll take it. My big bet of the week paid off. That was awesome again. So we're still winning money. We're 18-7 on the year in the 25 picks. So that's pretty good. We're still bringing in the dough here. And I've got the next 5 picks for week 6 right here. So my big bet of the week this week is the team that just beat the Bills, the Tennessee Titans at home, -3.5 versus Houston. Houston has been turning it up a little more now that they seem to have moved on from their coach and everything. But we just saw this Titans team and what they're capable on offense. And they're at home, a 3.5 point, -3.5. That's just too small of a line. I think they win by at least 7 to 10 points. So that's my big bet of the week, Tennessee over Houston. My second pick, we saw this team light it up in last week, and I'm going to pick the Miami Dolphins -8.5 versus the Jets. The Jets right now are the worst team in football. We all know that's true. They can't get it done on either side of the ball at this point. They're going to be deflated after losing Le'Veon Bell. They know that their head coach is a sitting duck, and he's going to be gone. I'm taking Miami -8.5 over the Jets. I think they win by 14 to 20 points, honestly. And Miami's been on fire as well. So that's my second pick of the week. My third pick, I'm actually taking the Minnesota Vikings over the Atlanta Falcons, -3.5 there. So the Vikings have been playing pretty well, but can't seem to get the monkey off their back, it seems, in some of these close games. But they're playing probably the worst team in that situation, the Atlanta Falcons, who are just moving on from their head coach as well. So I'm definitely picking the Vikings to win by more than 3.5 here. They're my third pick. My fourth pick is the Rams -3.5 over San Francisco. Again, we saw San Francisco kind of fall on their face last week. They're dealing with an absolute ton of injuries, and the Rams have been getting hotter and hotter. The Bills were lucky to get them when they did and come out with a victory. I think the Rams at least win this game by a touchdown, so I'm taking the Rams -3.5 at San Francisco. And my final pick of the week, I am picking one of the underdogs here. I'm going to take the Washington football team +2.5 over the New York Giants. I know the Giants were able to get some offense going against the Cowboys last week, but let's face it, everybody's been able to do that against the Cowboys this year, and that Washington football team's strength is their defense. So I'm taking Washington with the points here. So there's my 5 picks of the week. My big bet is Tennessee -3.5 over Houston, Miami -8.5 versus the Jets, the Vikings -3.5 at Atlanta, the Rams -3.5 at San Francisco, and the Washington football team +2.5 versus the New York Giants.
All right, yeah, it'd be a great idea to listen to Anthony Romeo and his 5 for 5 because the record shows you're going to make money, for sure.
Yeah, we've certainly been bringing it in this year.
Do you know your overall record off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's what I said just before the segment there. We're 18-7 on the year with my picks so far. And all of my big bets of the week have hit. So that's the most important one.
Yeah, so all you got to do is be above 51%. And you make money.
That's right.
So, anyway, thanks for joining us with 5 for 5. Let's get into these Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills return to Bills Stadium to take on the Chiefs for Monday evening football. 5 o'clock Eastern time is kickoff. It's the second time Sean McDermott has played the Chiefs. And if you don't remember when the Bills beat them They had Alex Smith. It was back 2017, I think. But fun game. Yeah, that was probably one of the better performances of the year. The Bills' defense really showed up in that game. And, we're going into this game, 2 gunslinging quarterbacks. This should be a ton of fun. This is what I dream of modern NFL football. Is
Speaking of betting, man, bet the over in this game, right?
Oh, for sure. Josh Allen's now the first quarterback in NFL history with 1,500-plus passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns in the first 5 games of the season. Jim Kelly never did it. Different game back then, but, Mahomes, he has all the franchise records and all that stuff. So, and, I think Josh has definitely had this one circled. There's a lot of talk of, Josh versus Mahomes when it comes to arm strength. And, Josh is the underdog here, for sure. Pat Mahomes has got the Super Bowl ring. He's got the endorsement deals. He got the $500 million contract. You name it, Pat Mahomes has it. And I think Josh wants that. So, interesting dynamic there. Like I said earlier, both teams are 4-1. Buffalo is currently averaging 27.8 points per game. Kansas City's at 29.8 points allowed per game, 28.4 for the Bills, and 22 for the Chiefs. All right, let's dive in here. Let's go Chiefs offense versus that Buffalo Bills defense. There's just so many things to guard on this Kansas City team. Just talked about Mahomes a little bit. We don't have to get into that. Like, everyone knows he's really good.
Their weapons, I mean, they're going to be without Sammy Watkins in this game, so that's one advantage for the Bills. But that just means you're going to probably see more of Mecole Hardman, who's a speedy receiver, to go alongside Tyreek Hill and the rest of the guys they got there. It's certainly a very potent, dynamic offense. That's what they're known for, right? They have Pat Mahomes. He's got all the weapons. And let's not forget, they're probably their biggest weapon, and the guy I'm most concerned about going up against the Bills, that's Travis Kelsey. I mean, the guy is a beast of a tight end, probably the best receiving tight end in football, and it's been a weakness of the Bills, especially if Matt Milano isn't able to play in this game. They're going to target him over the middle, and he's going to be there to make big plays. The Bills have got to have an answer for that because even if it's not the receivers, they're going to throw the ball.
Well, remember Mike Gesicki, he tore the Bills up. The Bills have allowed the most receiving yards to a tight end this year, probably because of him. And Travis Kelsey is the leading tight end receiver this year. Obviously, he's every year, right? Him and Kittle, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's definitely a weapon. And, with we'll see if Milano comes back. Did have the injury report here. Matt Milano was limited in practice yesterday, Thursday. So,
we'll see. We've learned anything from McDermott, it's that he's not going to tell you anything about any of the guys until he absolutely has to. I mean, even with Trey White and he kept saying they're progressing in the right direction. Well, that's nice, but that doesn't tell us anything really, right?
And Edmonds,
the original diagnosis on Milano was week to week. That doesn't leave me optimistic that after 1 week he's going to be back. But, man, if he's even able to play at 50%, I think they got to have him out there.
Yeah, I think having Milano and Edmonds helps with Kelsey. And they need all the help they can get with him. Looks like Trey White, he's limited as well. And, the injury report looks pretty good. And we're looking at the Thursday injury report. There's only 4 guys. Jake Fromm doesn't count. Was limited. Dawson Knox did not participate. Tre'Davious White limited, and Matt Milano limited. Everybody else is full go. So that helps when you talk about Travis Kelsey. I think those safeties got to step up and help out with him, but it puts the Bills defense in a very tough position, like it does with every team, because Tyreek Hill can just blow the top off at any moment, and you got to pay attention to that at all times.
Right, and the Bills' offense is funny because our offense seems to want to be mimicking what this Kansas City offense is able to do with Tyreek Hill in the plays we draw up with Roberts and McKenzie in the backfield, and they've been handing it off to Tyreek Hill a lot lately and just letting him run it in for the touchdown, and he's just so much faster than everyone on the field. It's something you have to be prepared for. And again, something's got to happen on offense. So you got to be prepared for Kelsey. You got to be prepared for Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. Something's got to give here. You're going to give up points in this game is basically what I'm saying to this offense. You have to be prepared to give up points to this offense. But you, at the same time, you have to be prepared on defense to make a big play. You've got to
jump on your opportunities.
You got to punch the ball out. You've got to attack the quarterback. Get to him. Get to Pat Mahomes. That defensive line that we've talked about exhaustively at this point has to step up in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You got to take advantage of every single opportunity you get to get a turnover. You got to take advantage of it. That is the only way to beat this team straight up, in my opinion. The Raiders did have a pick on Mahomes. He didn't have his best day. I don't know if you can confuse the guy, but if you can make a play or two on him, it's going to help you a lot, and that's really your only shot, in my opinion. Edward Solaire, also something you got to pay attention to. Very shifty, very small back. He can do it all. He can catch. He's extremely good inside the gaps. The big guys just have a hard time seeing him. And to be honest with you, I want to see more from Ed Oliver. Speaking on this, he's a top 10 pick, and he's just been we haven't heard much from Ed Oliver, and I think being a smaller guy, he could maybe help out with Edward Solaire.
Part of me wonders why Oliver hasn't lived up to expectations yet this year, but he's still playing well. It's not his fault the line is playing terribly at this point. He can play better for sure, but I don't think he's the reason that the defensive line has been struggling. If anything, he needs to get a little bit of help out there.
But expectations for him are higher because he is top 10.
Certainly.
It'd be nice to have him. He's capable of disrupting. Making a couple disruptive plays in this game because Mahomes is a faster guy. I think if you can get Ed Oliver in there and just up the middle, it's going to throw him off a little bit, and that's going to help the defense out a ton.
And we did see the Tennessee Titans pick on Josh Norman. I mean, they were literally targeting Josh Norman in this game, and Josh Norman's ability at this point, we like his ability to knock the ball loose and to break up catches. He had a couple of bad pass interference calls in that game. I have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to see that and also target Josh Norman. So he's got to be ready, especially if Trey White plays in this game. They're going to be throwing at Josh Norman's way. So he's just got to be on top of his game because he's going to have the majority of passes in his direction. Yeah,
I fully expect Travis Kelsey to be the key weapon for the Chiefs. I think they target him a lot early and often. And the Bills don't have answers for him. We'll wait and see. I'm sure McDermott and Frazier have something up their sleeve, and that'll be fun. When Eric and those guys, break down the play and explain it, it's going to be fun to see what McDermott pulls out of his sleeves. Let's flip sides, though. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Josh Allen in this offense against this Kansas City defense. It's funny how similar these teams are.
Right now, yes, unexpectedly so, right? We were supposed to be the powerhouse on defense, but I honestly think, and I've been saying this all since the offseason, since we knew we were playing Kansas City, my mouth was watering to face this Kansas City defense because to me, they're one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and I have had the pleasure of watching them play because we live here in Denver. The Kansas City game tends to be the game that's on local TV. So I'm telling you that this defense to me has looked disgustingly bad. That very targetable, very beatable. This is where the Bills have to capitalize. Josh Allen's got to play his best game. We've got to get the run game going strong. If we can control the ball on offense and score often and score as much as we can, like I already said, we're going to give up points to this team. They're too good not to score a lot of points. But if we can keep up and target this defense up the middle and the cornerbacks and Josh Allen can have his best game of the season, this is going to be a high-scoring affair, and the Bills could stay in it and win it with the power of our offense. Because I think our defense is better than their defense. That's not a shocking comment at this point in the season. But the Bills' offense can be better against their defense than their potent offense, which I would say is better than the Bills' offense, probably the best in football. It will be against our defense. So those two combinations, I think we can edge them out in this game just on the power of our offense versus that defense.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the Chiefs' offense currently ranks second in the league in total yards. and the Bills are fourth. On defensive, yards allowed passing, Chiefs are third, Bills are second. So, I mean, they both teams have focused on the passing game. I think the front seven for the Chiefs is definitely a lot better, than people give them credit for. Chiefs have only allowed 20 points or fewer in 4 of 5 games this season. So that's pretty good, overall.
But I watch those games, right? And I'm telling you that watching it, you see when the plays happen, right? They were able to get a couple of key turnovers that were bad turnovers, and they were able to, get a couple of stops that were just lucky stops at points in the game that mattered most. Their offense has carried them. The defense, I think this is a very targetable defense, probably the worst defense the Bills have faced yet this year. So I'm telling you, I honestly think the Bills are going to play their best game on offense, score their most points of the year against this team.
Yeah, and that's not far-fetched. I mean, their safeties are good, just like the Bills. I mean, like I said, these teams are pretty similar. But Brashard Breeland on one side, I mean, he stepped his game up a little bit, but I think you could attack them. Diggs could have a day here because, I mean, their corner is probably their weakest point. Linebacker, I'm not thrilled about. I worry about pass rush with this team with Chris Jones, Frank Clark. I think they could. You're not going to get a lot of running plays on this team. I don't think you're going to have to beat them with their arm with Josh Allen, and I think that's doable though.
And our offensive line has been playing great this year. I mean, even against Tennessee, that was probably one of the bright spots of the game. The offensive line held pretty strongly for Josh Allen, and I don't see too much of a threat from this defensive line against our offensive line and Josh Allen. He's going to be able to make the plays. He's going to be able to do what we've seen him do this year and live up to that MVP conversation caliber of play that he can. And I'm excited to see what Josh Allen does in this game.
Yeah, we'll leave it with this. Josh Allen statistically is having a better year than Mahomes right as of now. 317 passing yards per game. Mahomes is 294. 14 touchdowns for Josh, 13 for Mahomes, 1 pick for Mahomes, 3 for Josh. Passer rating for Josh, 113 and 107 for Mahomes, so enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Through 5 weeks, Josh Allen's the better statistical quarterback. I know there's a lot more details there, but Josh is having a hell of a season so far, and this game's going to be a ton of fun.
Both teams coming off a loss too, I think, is huge. They're gonna both be coming into this game energized and ready to go. And one of the advantages we have, even though there's no fans, it is a home game. This is on our turf, so that should count for something, even though it's negligible compared to what it would be if the Bills fans were actually there at the game. It's still going to have an impact. This is our field. We know what we're doing here.
All right, so let's take a few minutes to get everyone pumped up. This is the game. We're finally here. We were supposed to be here on Thursday, but it's Monday evening football, folks. All right, Anthony, bold prediction and final score.
I'm going to make the boldest of bold predictions. The Buffalo Bills score 50 points in this game, and they have to score 50 points in this game. And that is going to be what matters most to come out with a victory here. I'm going to go with a final score of 53 to 35 because both teams are going to score a lot of points in this game. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's going to be a gunslinging affair. Josh Allen throws for 4 touchdowns, rushes for another one. I think this is going to be the highlight of the season for the Bills.
Wow. 53 to 35? Never said that before.
I know. It's going to be one of the highest scoring affairs in NFL history.
See, I like it, but I don't think Mahomes will let you get to 50 without him being closer than that. But I'm not going to go 50. Let's go with my bold prediction. I think the Bills' defense can get 4 turnovers in this game. Let's say 2 fumble recoveries and 2 interceptions. I think McDermott brings the best game plan he's ever had as a Buffalo Bill, and he brings it against Mahomes at home and disrupts him, confuses him, forces mistakes. And I'll go with a final score of 31-25. Ooh, I want to say Kansas City, but I'm a Bills fan. We'll go Buffalo Bills.
You better pick Buffalo. We picked them in the preseason. We got to stick to it now.
I think the Bills bounce back in this one. I think that's realistic. But this Kansas City team, it is not going to be a pushover, man. No way.
Oh, not at all. This is going to be a battle. This is the type of game that NFL fans around the world are going to want to watch, right? This is a battle. This is going to be a high-scoring affair. You know, defensive games are great, but offensive games are where it's at, and that's definitely what this is going to be.
Yeah, and I would have a much easier time picking the Bills if the fans were in the stands. That is such a huge issue, in my opinion. Because this game would be swayed the Bills' way if they were at home with fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
On Monday evening. So that's a killer. That's a killer for me. But, the Kansas City Chiefs lost to. They're going to be hungry as hell. The Bills are going to be hungry as hell. This is going to be the game of the year so far. And I'm so excited, to finally get this game underway. I'm going to have such a good time. All right, so let's cap off the show here. We got our picks of the week. And Anthony, let's kick it off. Broncos at Patriots.
Ugh, what a game. This one was pushed back. I hate to say it here, but the Broncos are so dinged up and damaged and hurting right now. I have to pick New England to win this game.
Fair. Broncos are in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. And I think New England, they'll be prepared. We know this. All right, let's go the 1-4 Texans at the 4-0 Tennessee Titans.
Well, I already picked this game in my picks. You know how I feel about it. I honestly think that the Titans will win this game by more than a touchdown. This is my bet of the week, so Tennessee all the way. Yeah,
I think Tennessee is on a roll right now. Not many teams are going to have answers for that play-action game that they have, and I don't think the Texans they're not going to have answers. Titans for me. Let's go 4-1 Browns at the 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. What a game this is going to be.
I think it's going to be pretty one-sided, actually. I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game. I've seen Cleveland play a few of their games, and they've been winning despite the play of Baker Mayfield. He's thrown interceptions and key plays, and he just has not looked good, and they have not faced a team nearly as good as this Pittsburgh defense is. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Baker out there. I think Pittsburgh runs away with this one.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is very, very good. Their defense is very, very good. But I'm going to pick the Browns in this one. This is not the same old Browns. This is a 4-1 Cleveland Browns. They're on a roll. They have momentum. They're putting 40 points up a game. I think the Browns defense can compete with the Steelers defense. Give me Cleveland.
I'll pay you if that happens.
Deal. We'll talk terms offline.
There you go, yeah.
Ravens at Eagles. 4-1 Ravens at the 1-3-1 Eagles.
Wow, talk about teams trending in different directions here. I've got to go Baltimore all the way in this one. I just think Philly they can't find their identity. They don't know what they're doing out there on the football field, and they've really, really struggled this season. And Baltimore has been pounding and scoring lots of points and doing their thing, and so I got to go with Baltimore here.
Yeah, I'll go Baltimore. I think they can feel the fire at their feet. You got the 4-0 Steelers, the 4-1 Browns in the same division. They might lose the division with a really, really good record. They can win 12 games and still not get the division title. It's similar to what happened with the NFC West last season. But anyway, I'll go Ravens on this one. I think you've hit all the points for the Eagles. They don't know what they're doing. Football team, 1-4 football team at the Giants, 0-5.
Yeah, the Giants, again, I talked about this one in my picks too. I think the Giants have been getting their offense going a little bit, but I like that Washington football team defense, and I think they're going to get the best of the Giants here. I'm picking Washington.
I thought the Giants drew up a great game plan last week with Dallas, and they came up short, and it was heartbreaking because, Jason Garrett wanted it. I want to see Daniel Jones get a win, but I think football teams just playing good football, like football teams should. I don't know who's going to start for them at quarterback. That's probably the only thing holding this team back. But I like their defense. So, football team. 0-5 Atlanta Falcons at the 1-4 Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, here's another one that I picked in my picks, but I'm going Minnesota all the way here. I think Atlanta is really, really struggling, and Minnesota has been just right there and lost a couple of really tough games. I have to pick Minnesota winning this one pretty handedly.
See, I think you could title this game the disappointment game of the week.
Right.
You know, I ain't gonna lie, I had Atlanta winning that division. I thought they would get their stuff together. You know, they're talented enough. They've been in every single game this year.
Certainly,
maybe
yeah.
except for the last
Scoring
one. But,
points.
I mean, the momentum is now gone, and now it's full rebuild. Fans are talking about Trevor Lawrence from Georgia. I mean, it's fun to talk about. And the Vikings, come on, Vikings. You're better than this. I'll take Vikings at home. Okay, the 1-3 Lions at the 1-4 Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, I really like this game, too. The Lions are coming off a bye. I've got to pick them all the way against Jacksonville in this game. I think they're going to win this one pretty handedly. I'm taking the Lions.
Yeah, I'll go Lions as well. You know, the talent's there for the Lions. The coaching, maybe. I'm not real sure. Or it's just maybe it's the Lions. I feel like they've always had talent.
You could say the same thing on the other side.
Little trip to Florida, you know, nice weather. I'll take the Lions in this one. The 1-3-1 Bengals at the 3-2 Colts.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Colts in this one. I really like their defense. I think they need a bounce-back win after a tough loss versus Cleveland. The Bengals, you know, they're a good team on offense, but they just can't. They haven't put it all together. You still have a rookie quarterback. I've got to go with the Colts here.
Yeah, I think Phillip Rivers is starting to get some criticism. I think he needs to shut up the naysayers and have a good football game. And you know, this Colts team will be 4-2, and I think that's a great start for them. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one. Let's go the 4-1 Bears with Nick Foles at the Carolina Panthers at 3-2.
Well, I've been on the Carolina Panthers train for a while now, and I'm telling you, I'm going to pick them to win this game, too. I really like what they can do on offense. I'm a fan of Teddy Bridgewater. I like that they brought in Robbie Anderson. That duo has worked great. And the Bears, they have a good defense, but you don't really know what to expect from them on offense. I'm going to pick Carolina to edge out this win.
I think I'm going to agree with you on this one just because, you know, Panthers are at home. And this one could really go either way. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to who can make one play. And, you know, right now I think that's Bridgewater. You know, the Mike Davis, who's backing up Christian McCaffrey, is playing pretty well. And they're getting it done. Let's go 0-5 Jets at the Miami Dolphins at 2-3.
Well, again, this was one of my picks. I think the Dolphins absolutely wiped the floor with them in this one. I'm Miami all the way.
Yeah, Miami's starting to get on a groove here. You know, they had a big win last week, and the Jets are... I don't think anyone else is going to get the first pick. I don't think they can out-tank the Jets. So let's go Miami in that one. The 4-0 Packers at the 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Outside the Kansas City game, this is probably the game of the week for me.
Well, you know I'm not going to pick Tampa Bay. I'm going Green Bay in this one. They are also coming off a bye week, don't forget, so they're going to be ready for this game. Tampa Bay's coming off an embarrassing loss on Thursday Night Football to the Chicago, so I still like Green Bay in this one. I think they win it.
Man, this is another game that could go either way. I like Green Bay. I just think they have more explosiveness. I mean, I get it. Like, Tom Brady and his weapons are really good, but they're still slow, methodical football. And it works, but I think the Packers just make one more big play than the Bucs, and I'll take the Pack. Let's go Sunday Night Football, the 4-1 LA Rams at the 2-3 San Francisco 49ers. You got to wonder what's going on with Jimmy G there.
Yeah, I mean, they took him out of the game in the third quarter against Miami, so a lack of confidence there for sure. But I'm definitely going with the Rams in this one. Like I said before, they're the hot team. San Francisco has not looked good. They're angry, but I'm not sure that they can produce enough to stop this potent Rams offense that the Bills learned about so well.
Yeah, I mean, I heard something to think about. Matt Ryan gets traded to the 49ers. Something to think about. But I think this 49ers team is, they had so many injuries, they've kind of lost their identity. The Rams are clicking right now. Sean McVay is on a roll again. Jared Goff's looking sharp. Give me the Rams to go 5-1. Okay, after the Monday evening football game, there is a Monday night football game. And that is the 3-2 Arizona Cardinals at the Dak Prescott-less Dallas Cowboys at 2-3.
Yeah, that's a tough loss for the Cowboys. But the biggest problem for the Cowboys is their lack of defensive play. They've given up 40 points to everyone this year, it seems. And the Cardinals, their powerhouse is their offense. And they have, Hopkins. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. So I have to go Cardinals in this one. It's going to start a downward trend for these Cowboys.
I think for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, now is the time to showcase this offense. You're in a good position in the division. You're in Dallas. The prey is wounded. Dak Prescott's out. If they don't have a good offensive performance, I'm going to continue to criticize them. Now is the moment. You got to take advantage of your moments. I'll pick Arizona to go 4-2. So that's our picks for the week, and appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Be sure to tune in Tuesday nights on the Cover One Network. You can see us on YouTube for our Hoof Live show. And as always, tune into our Friday show. It drops in the middle of the night on Friday, so it's available to all of our listeners early Friday morning. And as always, check us out on Twitter. And be sure to tune in to other podcasts on the Cover One Podcasting Network. Let's get these Chiefs. Go Bills.
Let's go. Go Bills. Biggest game of the year. Come on.